Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Chief, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Regarding the agenda, I think we have some changes we're going to make.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a few changes to the agenda. What I would like to do is item D under the routine business. I would like to swap it with item 7, the Atrium Health Wake Forest Baptist Loans Hometown Funds Acceptance. So I'd like to swap those two items. So we're going to move the Atrium Health to a consent agenda item, and then the amendment for the fee schedule we'll move to a separate item. Also, due to the fact we've received some new information, I'd like to make E dot 1. We need to consider a budget adjustment for the Black Cat Station building. An estimate from BNR HVAC for some repairs on that building. And then item 11.5 or 11.5, insert emerging issues as part of the agenda items.
Okay. Need a second, please? I'll second. Thank you very much. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Say aye.
Aye.
Those motion carries. Have a general public comment. Is now a good time, Mrs. Nichols?
Sure.
Okay, please.
Item 10, I'm jumping ahead of David.
John.
We're gonna pave Main Street next year. You've all heard this before. That stormwater drain from Liberty to the end of Main Street and probably out some of 10 needs to be replaced before we pave the third street. Now, wait till Saturday comes and hopefully we have an apple festival, but my bet is we're gonna have 2 to 4 inches of rain. We flooded a couple of weeks ago before the big fire. We're gonna flood again. It's old terracotta pipe. No matter what we do, it's not gonna fix it. Now, I don't know who needs to go to the State Department and jump up and down on their desk. I guess start with Joe Woody and go down the list. But it needs to be fixed. It's there during the street. I know they say it's our water line. Maybe we could reach a compromise. But it's foolish to pay that street and not fix that during water line.
Yeah.
Excuse me, that's it.
Okay, David, what are your thoughts on
The storm drain down through there is, it's terracotta, it's old, it's been in there for a long time. And as Michael well knows that, when we get a big heavy rain, it's not big enough to carry the water that runs into it down the creek.
Right, it's only 18 inches.
Yeah, so, it needs some upgrading, but, the way the state is and budget wise with the state, where they got money to do it with or not, I don't know.
They wasted on everything else. They did not enough to fix that pipe.
I agree with you 100%.
I agree with Mark.
that? David, what up?
Yes,
I
I
will
will.
all roll on it.
Yeah, me and Rob got a meeting over there in the morning.
Okay,
I'll see
good.
if I can find somebody and, talk to them.
Okay. Thank you both. Okay, item 6, routine business. Noted, not yet. Okay. Jeff, I'm gonna call on you during the public hearing.
Thank you.
Didn't forget you. Okay, so we're gonna vote on routine business, items A through C. Remember that we've swapped B that's been pulled. And then item 7 replaces B. This is routine business. With a motion to approve these items, please.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, items also include B. There was, since we swapped, we still have A, B, C, and D.
Or what, didn't I see? That's what we said. A through D, and we're swapping, item 7 for D.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as stated.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Second. Thank you, Mr. Church. All in favor? Those motion carries. Regarding, item B.
Yeah,
Mr. Price.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to thank David. The reason I pulled that out is, I will just publicly say that, as a board, we kind of goofed on that, whole idea for that, what we were doing. Said it before, we were pure of heart, but maybe not so quite clear of mind when we made this proposal. The intent of the proposal was to try to increase our customer base with the enterprise fund, the water sewer fund, and to potentially grow, to help growth in areas that could benefit from our services, but may not be in the position to really want to be annexed. So like I said, I think we had the right idea. So it was, but the one thing that happened is we could not separate existing customers from new customers. It had to be kind of an all or nothing deal. So that is wrong. We recognize that is wrong. I, as a commissioner, would tell the public, I'm sorry. We will fix this. We will get whatever credits, refunds, whatever we need to do. So the people that were affected by this rate increase, we'll get them back. We'll get it back to where they're supposed to be. And again, accept our policy. The one thing that I would like to say is that I still believe that that is a issue that we could explore further, but we'll have to do it in a different way. So I would like to keep an open mind and open thought as a way we can do this at a later date. But right now, what I would like to do is just fix this one item. So I'm going to make a motion, and then there can be further discussion from the board. But I'm going to make a motion that we rescind the fee schedule that we adopted for outside ETJ and outside jurisdictional for the water and sewer fund, and return it to exactly the way it was prior to that vote, which means no one can have, I mean, it goes back to what it was. So it's, if you want our water sewer in your area that's outside of city limits, it's, you have to go back to annexation, but like I said, so that's the motion I make.
Do you need a second and discuss it with Frank?
Second.
Second. Thank you, gentlemen. This is amendments now for discussion.
Well, I think we were well intentioned. Nobody ever told us that what happened was gonna be an issue. And I don't think anybody on this board would have voted for it had they known it was gonna change the prices for existing customers. I don't know where the ball was dropped, but it was a simple mistake, and hopefully we can look at it again in the future, because I think there is some merit to what we're trying to do.
How does that affect Speedway?
Speedway has that special circumstances because it's considered under economic development. So there's some gray area as to how that works.
So they don't have to be in the next.
Anyone else? All right. All those in favor of the amendment, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much. Manager's report, Mr. Buckley, please.
Thank you, sir. Have several items, really just to update you guys on. Let's see, the raw water pump at the existing plant, the old plant, we are very close to having that complete. You all, I think, have heard, we've been operating with a rented pump for several months now while we've been waiting on a replacement. And I think we're looking at the end of the month, is that correct, David?
For the end of the month, first couple of weeks in October, we should have the other one.
And the timeline for the water line to the EDC property is basically on the same timelines. Looking at about the end of October, and pretty much the same for the new tank. Is that correct, David?
Yes.
So everything, you know, knock on wood, everything appears to be coming together properly. So just wanted to give you guys an update on those projects. The stage at the farmer's market is complete. I think that was used this, past weekend or weekend before. So, if you haven't seen it, go take a look. It looks nice. So that's a good thing. Are we gonna talk about the HVAC system?
We will.
Okay.
It's on.
Business Center Drive, which is, currently there, we've discussed this before, the EDC property, and curious if the town would be willing to accept maintenance. At this point, staff cannot recommend that we do so, and would like you guys to know we're gonna be approaching DOT about taking over control of that road. Not sure what their acceptance is going to be, but if not, my recommendation would be that we let it become a private right of way for the properties there. But we really don't know what standards it was built to at this point. We had a meeting, David, Meredith and I did this afternoon with a representative from Duke Power over the 115 widening project. And they're looking at what the lighting is going to be for that stretch of road. And really, till we see the final designs from DOT, we're not entirely sure what to tell them. But I guess what you guys need to start thinking about anyway is, do we want to leave it more or less as it is? Of course, it's going to be farther off the road since the road is being widened, or would we like to do some sort of upgrades? Of course, anytime you're talking upgrades, you're talking money.
Yeah.
So we don't have any particulars at this point, but just something to start contemplating as we go forward.
Okay.
Let's see. I think the only other thing I have on the list is we've gotten a couple of communications from the Ruritans about the festival this weekend, which everyone is concerned about the storm, as are we. We had all the public works guys in last week to make sure that we're all ready to go, assuming it goes forward. Everyone stays where they're supposed to be, and pick up the trash and traffic control and that sort of thing. So we're ready to go regardless. And I guess sort of in concert with that, regardless of whether the festival goes forward or not, the public works guys have been going around the last couple of days, clearing off inlets, for stormwater, to try to make sure that as best we can handle whatever is coming our way. And last but certainly not least, I want to introduce Sarah Davis. Sarah, if you would stand, please, our newest employee. She is our planner one to help out Meredith with some of the many tasks that we put on her. So Sarah, I want to welcome you and looking forward to working with you. And great to have you. I'm happy to try to answer any questions that any of you guys may have on any of those topics.
All right, one quick thing, I noticed, and just because Duke Power, Pike Electric, they operate independently of what our wishes are sometimes. I noticed that this past weekend on Saturday, coming down all three of the major 9th, 10th, and 8th Street, they were all blocked from the F Street to D Street. The only way you could get around was to come down 6th Street or go down past Robbie's.
Right.
So we need to make sure that if this festival happens this weekend, that they are not doing that, because that would be bad. I don't know who you can contact for that, but we just need them to know that they can't do that this weekend.
I would assume it would be a gentleman, by the name of Jimmy Flack. He's their
Yeah.
local government.
Oh, Jimmy retired.
I have not heard that. But we could certainly make contact with them and pass that along in the strongest sense possible.
Any other questions from Mr. Buckingham?
Yes, I got one question. The new water tank on the hill over there,
Yes, sir.
is it supposed to be the same height as the one on the other side? If you look at it, it looks to be like it's about 4 feet shorter than the other.
It is,
It is, though.
it is, it'll call, so the elevation of the ground.
Yeah,
It's a little shorter than this.
Will it hold the same capacity of water as the other one? It will.
Yes.
Yeah, the starting elevation was a little higher.
Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Buckingham.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Item 9, VFW scholarship, Ms. Dean.
Hello, Commissioners. Thank you, Mayor. On behalf of the VFW Auxiliary, we just wanted to let everybody know about some of the scholarship opportunities we have. Normally, we just go to the middle schools or the high schools and drop off our brochures, but we really haven't had a lot of feedback or entries. So I decided this year that I was going to go to all the commissioners meetings and let everybody know what we're doing as a post and an auxiliary. The first one coming up is our Patriots pin that is for middle schoolers. And the theme this year is My Pledge to Our Veterans. It's scholarship money. It's free money for your kids on a middle school level. And we just think it would be amazing and wonderful if we could get more of our students to be involved in the patriotism in the county and with our veterans. Again, free money for your, yeah. So I have some of these, if anybody would like one. I'm not sure, did you get my email? Did it come through? Okay, so you guys have got that email, had a chance to look at that. We also have coming up, this deadline is an awkward odd time. It's October 31st is the deadline for this one, but we do have one coming up for the high schoolers and the elementary school art contests. And of course, those scholarships for the high schoolers go to their continued college, wherever they decide to go. So we've got information on that. Also, coming up for our auxiliary, we are having a school safety officer day. What's it called?
Kids safety.
Kids Safety Day, yeah. Okay, so remember when we were younger and we had all those cool things, like they would have the houses and the firemen would teach you how to get out of the house and all that fun stuff. We're gonna do that again. That was our auxiliary president, Mabel Hance, decided she was gonna make that happen this year. There's gonna be a bounce house, kid ID kits available, how to stay safe at home, bike helmet checks, car seat checks. That's going on in.
Varsity chicks, they told me yesterday they won't have anybody available.
Okay. So that's gonna be a community event. Everybody's welcome. That's October 15th. From 11 to 3. And then I had dropped off an invitation to our Gold Star banquet happening in November. And that we do that every year at the post. We are the only post in the state that does that. It's a banquet for Gold Star family members. Commissioner Palmer is a Gold Star family member. That's when you had a family member who died in a conflict. And so I left an invitation. Hopefully you all have seen it.
Well, I got it this
Uh-huh.
afternoon. What I'll do is I'll make copies and distribute. copy to
Perfect.
everyone.
Or if you just get a head count from all the commissioners, just let us know because it is a catered event. But if anybody has a Gold Star family member, please let us know because, it's not just about the banquet, it's about making sure that our local Gold Star families are recognized and thanked for their service. That is November 15th at 6 P.M.
And the RSVP date was October 15th.
What's the date? Yes, I think the 14th or the 15th.
That's okay, because I'll have it.
Yeah,
I'll have it in those.
and again, that's just because, yes, the 14th, just because it's catered and tiny.
Sure.
So. But as far as that, that's kind of what we're doing at our VFW with our auxiliary right now. And we just love to have a lot of community support for our kids to get those scholarships. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Any questions, Mr. Lee?
Thanks for everything. you're doing.
Okay, here none, we'll move on. Item 10, consideration of new business, so heading E, Main Street, 10th Street trade and paving, it's gonna be the 10th Street by Roselli's, that stretch, and then from where it joins Main Street on down that tail down the hill. And storm drain discussion, Mr. Webb.
The DOT is wanting to trade us, the end of Main Street, because the DOT right of way comes down Main Street and it turns right, and goes up 10th Street, back down C Street for whatever reason. I guess that was the old route for the road. But from 10th Street down to the loop is owned by the town. And, to go along with the storm drain issues, that we have, the DOT storm drain comes straight and goes right straight on down the hill. And, they're wanting to pave so it'll look uniform all the way down to C Street or to the loop. It's like, but they're wanting to trade us to get the right of way, go straight down the hill. They want to trade us 10th Street for that piece. The only storm drain that's in 10th Street is one that comes down the alley right here and it crosses straight over 10th Street. There's two drains at the corner down here, but they feed back out to Main Street. Personally, myself, I think it would be a good trade for the town to trade that little bit to the DOT. That way the DOT has their storm drain all the way down across the loop. Right now, as it stands, the town has to take care of that's their storm drain that carries their water all the way down Main Street from 10th Street to the loop, and we've replaced this the short section of it in there at the alley. So this will give them all of their storm drain if we make the trade.
So both of them will be paid. Yeah, DOT paid 10th, the town paid that hotel on 9th, and make the swap.
No, the DOT will pay Main Street, and then 10th Street will be up to us to pay at some point in time. Yeah.
I was hoping to, well, you know.
Yeah.
What condition is 10th Street as far as needing repaving? I mean, how soon are we gonna have to be looking at repaving that block? Because you're basically talking about a block.
Yeah.
From C Street to D Street, that's ours anyway. So what's the condition? What is our timetable for that paving on that 10th Street if we do make the swap?
It's in good shape. I walked over it the other day when I was looking at storm drains and stuff, and, but it's in good shape. It should be, you know, a while down the road before we have to repave it. I'd say 5 to 10 years.
Okay.
But to further the conversation, they are looking to go ahead and pave Main Street pretty soon. Switchman the state told me, and we need to decide whether or not we want to try to pursue getting the stormwater drains fixed before they pave it. And that could be this huge thing to try to get into because the state, and we don't know if they have the money, but for what it's worth, I am 110% behind us addressing this. Not only is like his building getting flooded, others on Main Street are, the buildings on 10th Street down by Wilkesburg or that block, they're getting hit hard. I've been talking about it for 2 years. And I think the amount of water that they're getting, you know, once a year coming into the building, that's business owner, a lot of these small businesses have a hard time making it a go of things anyway. the last thing you wanna worry about is water if you're building like that. If there's anything the town of Wilkesboro can do, we have to beg for grant money or get our state representative to help us, or try to get this stormwater situation fixed. I think we need to do it, and I think we need to do it before we pay it, because otherwise it wouldn't make sense. And I don't think the state would like it if we let them pave it and then say, hey, can you fix this now and have to dig it up? They're not going to like it.
First drain is legal.
Still drain. If it's DOT.
Then why do they get to fix their mess? Why are we having to fix it if it belongs to them?
Well, Martha, I'm gonna throw a little quagmire in the whole thing, because let's say DOT does come in and fix it. The storm drain runs across 3 of the recently redone areas, because it all runs on this side of the street, so that knowing how DOT operates, you might talk them into fixing the drain, but it's going to dig up this one, the one down there, the bump out at the parking lot where Neil Shepherd's building is, and the one down there, just past the Ruby's building, because the storm drain, you stand on my corner and you stand over that grate and you look straight down the street, that it runs straight parallel. So they would actually be digging up all of those natural areas, and they may accept responsibility for replacing the storm drain, but I bet you couldn't get them to fix back what they tear up with our landscaping projects we have.
We may have to build for the landscaping thing, but it's just foolish to pay. It's problem.
Well, I mean, I'm not arguing with you on that fact. I'm just telling you that it's, even if DOT stepped up and said, we're gonna do it, the town's not gonna get out without the possibility and cost. And it could be, I mean, what we spend, $450,000 for these 4 corners down here. You know, so, I mean, it would not be, inexpensive for us to have to go back and fix what they dig up. That would be my only concern. But I mean, I certainly would agree that it's certainly worth seeing if we can't turn up the records a little bit to find out, because, you know, maybe we could approach our Jeffrey to see if DOT does that, could we find some funding in the budget to help us fix what the DOT might undo. You know, that's a possibility, but we don't know until you ask.
Well, we can look beautiful on the surface, or we can flood all the time, and I'd rather, waiting a year or two, we have to landscape or whatever we have to do, we can fix the flooding problem.
Well, nobody agrees with that more than
It's hard for me as a commissioner when I go down and I see the flooding that's taking place on 10th Street to say, there's nothing else we can do for you. I can't tell them that. I'm gonna tell them, I'm gonna fight for you against town hall or whoever, try to get you guys some help. That's what I'm gonna do. It's their,
Then the town cleaning out the state's drain over there at McNeil anyway, we're doing their job. Isn't that where that thing lands, in David, isn't that McNeil tire or whatever? That's where it got stopped up, and it's a state drain.
Did you have a chance to look into that little thing you and I talked about as a way to maybe stem the tide a little bit behind those buildings on 10th Street? About building the little barrier in itself along that.
Yeah, I have looked at that, and it's just gonna make it, if we do that, it's gonna make it hard to get in to those buildings. Plus, one of the drains is right up against the sidewalk, so,
Yeah, but you can move a catch basin without
yeah, we can.
a whole lot of effort. I mean, that's something I really, to help those people, because the water back there, because the pond's so bad in that parking lot, that's, you know, you'd have to have a major overhaul of those drains. But if we can somehow figure out a way to make it so that at least on one of those gully washer drains like that, we have some aid until the drains can catch back up.
they
Yeah, I'll keep looking at it. See.
do we even know exactly 100% what's going on? Why is it, what's happening? I know it's 2 different situations, because you have 2 drains. Let's talk about 10th Street. I mean, is that pipe clear and it's just so much water it can't handle it, or is there obstruction?
Yeah, that's what's happening. The pipe that comes down B Street is the state drain. The one in behind Brooks Hardware runs out and ties into it. We put a box out at the road to kind of wide in, hopefully it would suck the water on down. And that helps them. But the other day when it rained so much, I went down by there and there was pond of water down there just about to go in the building. And I think after I went by and looked at something else, it did go on into the building. But just as soon as it quit raining and the water started going down, it cleared right out. It was just raining so hard that the drains wasn't big enough to handle all the water that was coming down through there. Because the water shooting off the back of those buildings in the alley. Because it was shooting about halfway out in the road and then it was shooting off the building. There was a bunch of water fell from time.
I think the number Dale gave us when he was here was 400,000 to replace that pipe. But that's a DOT pipe or is it our pipe?
That's a DOT pipe down B Street.
I think it's gonna be a big mess, but I would support trying to fix it. It's just crazy that we would allow water to be running in these buildings like this if we can help it.
So that is something, Andrew, that we need to keep, we need to kind of keep it on our burner so that, you know, that we can try to address it, because, I mean, you know, I know what it's like to have water issues. I can't imagine. I mean, I know every time that we get that particular type of rain, you know, I don't worry so much about like what they're talking about this weekend, because it may be 4 or 5 inches, but it's not gonna all come in 15 minutes. I worry about the 2 inches of rain in 15 minutes. That's what overwhelms the system.
Yeah.
So, you know, Andrew, I will support you on that. We'll keep our thumb on that issue, because you're right. There is no insurance that covers surface water for any of these buildings. Trust me, I've tried. It's always on the building owner clean up the mess. And you're right. It can leave a bad taste in.
With COVID money, was that covered? I mean, it's a health issue, obviously. We have any COVID money left?
I think it's all been appropriate.
You know, there's not anybody on this board that does not, that absolutely wants to make sure our buildings are taken care of and water issues are put in place the best that we possibly can and as fast as we possibly can. Mother Nature has been hard on us,
So Mark, do we need to make a decision as a board whether we support going ahead and moving forward with paving or looking into this?
I would like to. They stop by my office this week. We'll make some notes and get contact names and see what we think the best way to proceed.
We would also need a public hearing to make that exchange, would we not?
Change.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because you're changing one piece of public property for another. So,
Why TOT over here one night?
well, what maybe I might suggest, Mayor, is on our next meeting next week, and maybe if it had enough time, so that we could discuss it, that we could make an action to call for a public hearing on that street exchange, if you think that's enough time. Because we'd have to call for the public hearing and.
No.
We gotta get with DOT and find out if they have to have like a memorandum or.
Oh, I thought that the DOT had already. Okay, I misunderstood. I thought they had already, they're all on board with that.
They have just approached us.
Talking things.
Yeah, we're not at the handshaking part yet.
Sorry.
Hold on, because when we get down to working issues, actually, we're gonna be loading the agenda because we got other meetings.
Yeah.
Well, until we get that, I thought the DOT was already on board, so.
They approached us and offered the discussion.
Okay, well, there's another job for David.
I thought,
We can't do anything until they agree to do it, and then we'll have to.
Yeah, they want to work on that.
If we can discuss this in the agenda meeting.
I thought that Ms. Sheets wrote us all an email saying that they needed an answer from the state and DOT by the 14th on whether we wanted to go ahead and put us on the schedule for paving Main Street.
You're right, that sounds correct.
That's kind of what I was getting at.
That date passed.
The 14th of October.
October 14th.
My vote would be not to pave it until we have this looked at with the drains.
Me too. Dave, let's get together this week. Anything else on that item? Hearing nothing, we'll go to E1, and regarding the town of the building, Black Cat Train Museum. And it's an older building, I think the units on the roof, there's two, and they're over 20 years old each, and one is failed. And it's beyond reasonable repair now, we have to replace that unit. So the board can see the 3 bids there. Staff has recommended we go with the one from B&R because that unit is Carrier. The reviews are good. It's also made in the United States. Now, that being said, Carolina Comfort Heating and Air, no, not that one, sorry. A1 Heating and Air, they're recommending and quoting an Arco air heat pump. The reviews are not as good as Carrier, and it is made in Canada. The part won't be as easy to get. So staff has recommended we go with the B&R, $5,518. 50% is due upon acceptance of the quote, and 50% due upon completion of the job. Got this anything, Mary?
This will come out of the,
Budget?
yes, we have a budget line item for building maintenance. Because it is a new item, it does have to come out of a capital outlay line item, but we do have money budgeted for these types of things. As we do have infrastructure to upkeep for our buildings.
Correct. And they only have a year on this new lease. And then I think the board decided we want to sell that property. Anything else we need to do in this item tonight?
I guess we need just an okay to move forward.
Gonna see just a thumbs up from the board to go forward with this.
You need it as a official motion?
I don't think we need an official motion, but we do have to notate it in the minutes that the board is satisfied with staff moving forward with this item.
Okay.
Okay, you're recommending those. I'm not me. Okay, it's 4-1. 4-1. Okay, we'll go ahead and move forward. Consideration of all business, in the public hearing zoning corridor overlay. So public hearing is now in session. Eric?
And before I jump into that, Finance Director Connie is online. She's been under the weather, but I wanted to make sure you guys realize with the fee schedule, we raised our rate. She wanted to just make sure we knew this. We raised our rates across the board. So they're not going back to the old fee, but it will be the same as what this year's been adopted as, the 1.5.
Right.
Okay, just want to make sure we're on the same page. No, I just want to make sure y'all caught that. So
I
we're not-
think it would be good. I'd say go back to the schedule right before,
Okay,
before
perfect.
we make the last vote.
Okay, perfect, yes, just want to make sure. Okay, so I'm gonna talk to you about zoning now. This is a public hearing on the corridor overlay. We discussed this at, I think it was the August 25th meeting. I've got Mike Houlis and Dana Younger are here, the applicants. If you guys have questions, feel free to ask them before you go through the hearing. But essentially, one of the things you all have tasked me with is to make our zoning ordinance more business friendly. This item, they sponsored it because they wanted to get a larger sign at their new location on 115. I told them we just did this with the wall signs. Why don't we discuss monument signs? And while we were looking, we did clean up a few other things because they couldn't have something as simple as a directional sign. So we wanted to make sure what we're doing tonight is leveling the playing field for all of our business districts. Now, they can't have a pylon or a pole sign, but they can still have the same square footage for like a wall sign, a corridor, monument sign. So one of the steps we're trying to get forward to make it better for our businesses. It is in conjunction, it is supported with our comprehensive plan. As you can see, we have two different goals that support this.
Right.
And the planning board did approve this unanimously at their meeting. I will notate that if, once you close the public hearing, there is a motion on the second page of your staff report. You do have to notate the consistency statement for the state statutes. Did you have any questions for staff or the applicants? Okay, that's all I got.
You ready to make a motion?
Okay, then public hearing, anybody else have anything you'd like to say? Ms. Terrence? Okay, the public hearing is now closed, and I'll need a motion to approve or deny.
I move to approve amending the zoning ordinance article the 10 zone. I approve to amending the zoning ordinance. I cannot get that out of Article 6, zoning districts, 6.5 overlay districts, parentheses D, corridor overlay districts, parentheses CO, Article 10, signage, 10.5, permanent signs by zoning district, 10.6, sign height, 10.7, number of signs permitted, 10.8, sign area by zoning district to allow more signs and a larger monument sign to be permitted in the corridor overlay district. The town of North Wilkesboro's Board of Commissioners deems the proposed amendments to the zoning ordinance in regards to signage in the corridor overlay district is consistent with the town's comprehensive plan. Any small area plans or elements thereof and supports the comprehensive plan's goals and policies. Further, the proposed amendments regarding signage in the corridor overlay district is reasonable in the public interest.
Thank you, Ms. Hedges. Have a second, please. Thank you, Ms. Church. All those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. There are none opposed, motion carries. Item G is a public hearing, economic development, EDC, President Leanne Nixon. And this public hearing is now open.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, for allowing us to present tonight for Project Bethany. Project Bethany is requesting a grant, and I want to just make sure that we talk a little bit about who they are and an overview of the investment and job creation and the request. The parent company is Peters Development, but we know them better as Bethany Medical, which has been in our community for 4 years. Bethany Medical is an independent group of healthcare providers with a mission to provide excellent care through a multi-specialty approach from prevention to intervention of potentially life-threatening health problems. The new building that they are building is, we know that investment is around $3,630,028. They currently have 15 jobs at their facility at the bottom of the hill. And they are looking to add 17 new jobs. That would be a combination of all different types of medical staff, including doctors and a lot of different positions that we have discussed before. Their average wages are $58,273, and that is 44% higher than our average county wage. The grant program that is the vehicle that they're asking a grant for is called the Build and Reuse Program, and it's under the rural health category. Now, most of us are very familiar with the Build and Reuse Program that Commerce offers. We typically hear it more for vacant buildings or buildings that are being renovated and expanded, but they have a special category for just health facilities. And this particular grant, they would be requesting a grant of $225,200. And it does require a match of 5% to be procured. And in this situation, the landowner is offering to procure that allow the town to procure those funds directly from them, which would be $11,260. That is a 5% match. Commerce does not require the client to request the grant before beginning to build their building. Only that they do not upfit the items that are listed in the grant that they're making the request for. And so Commerce is fine with the fact that the building has already began construction. It meets their grant requirements. Another thing that I would remind you all is that the items that this grant funding would go for are things that typically stay with the building. We want Bethany Medical to be successful and stay with us for many years. But if for any reason they were to ever leave, the money would actually improve that building, thus improving the tax value of that building and the ability to reuse that building as a very nice building in our community. But we hope that they will do well and be with us. This is a competitive grant. It is all counties and towns and cities can be applying for a building reuse grant at the same time in a funding cycle. So even with application, they may or may not receive an award. But we did receive the invitation to move forward after talking with Commerce about their project. So the town, if you choose to proceed with the applicant, you would procure the 5% match from the landowner, retain those funds, acting as only a pass-through of grant funding from NC Commerce. The town at the end of the grant, after all requirements of the job creation and the investment was made and could be seen that all improvements were made in the building, then you would return that 5% match back to the company and just pass through the money that comes from Commerce to you to forward on to the client. The town would enter into an agreement outlining the grant, and we would not recommend requesting those funds until all requirements are met, and so that removes the risk to the town to be involved. The Wilkes CDC staff, as usual, would provide grant administration and work closely with the town staff to make sure that all town staff is very comfortable with everything that's taking place, overseeing any documents that we prepare and move along the way. And it would just require necessary accounting functions from your staff to manage the money coming through and going back out. At this time, I'll be glad to answer any questions, but I also recommend that you allow the company to actually speak. I believe they are online tonight to be here with you and would like to share information about the type of work that they do.
I will just be clear so everyone's clear on the money. So because that money would be over a third of the money we had allocated for a grant, so the state allows them to give us the matching 5%. We hold it till the appropriate time, and then they can give it back to them. So from taxpayer money, it's a net zero.
That's right. It's not using any taxpayer money at all, only state commerce funds if they're awarded the grant.
And can you review the, how many job creations you're doing?
Yes, so they currently have 15 jobs now. And this would create 17 new jobs. It's clerical medical assistants, ultrasound sonographers, which is a service they don't currently offer and they would like to be able to offer and purchase that equipment. Licensed medical providers, physicians, nurse practitioners, and physicians assistants. I believe they could speak more to this, but I do believe that this would allow them to expand the hours of availability. And it would provide more of an opportunity of a clinic where you could go after hours or on the weekends to be able to get care of lots of different types of care.
Thank you.
What's annual payroll? You know?
I do not know the annual payroll. I just know the average wages.
I think it was just under a million. Like 48,
I do not know that.
and then what's tax base on it?
Um,
About 18 a year.
I can tell you that, in revenue, you typically would bring in, the 18,876 a year on this building. And that would be year over year based on your taxes. If the tax value is the $3.6 million. Sometimes that includes things that are not necessarily included in the tax evaluation.
Is the project contingent on them getting this grant? What happens if they don't get it?
That would be a good question for the client, and since they're on the line and with us tonight. I think in my discussions with them too, my understanding is, receiving the grant would allow them to be able to do more that they have planned and wanted to do. And I can attest to this from building the Wilkes Commercial Business Center. From the time that we began planning and received quotes and started the process, the cost of building materials had skyrocketed. And so everything has gone up from what we initially planned at the Wilkes Commercial Business Center. And it's cost us a lot more than what we thought originally. And I think that would be probably a similar experience to anybody that was building during this time. So my hope would be that the grant would allow them to do more, offer more services, ensure that we hire more people. And when we talked about tax revenue a minute ago too, I forgot to mention that that is only looking at the construction cost of this building. That's not talking about the machinery and equipment in the building. And I'm sure that will have a significant tax value also. So would you like to hear from the client?
Well, any more questions for Ms. Nixon before we hear from them? Go ahead.
And I think we have Dean Ruth with us tonight with Project Bethany Medical. Dean,
Can we turn it more, we can see it?
Hello, my name is Dean Ruth, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer with Bethany Medical. With me, I have Greg Denny. He's our Director of our Recruiting Department. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
So Ms. Nixon did a wonderful job in explaining the project and what it entails. I would just like to add that the grant will allow us to move faster and secure 17 jobs much faster. And like she said, we're bringing in licensed medical providers, physician assistants. I would also like to say that the jobs will add quickly. And our goal is to expand and to include Sundays. Currently, we're open Monday through Saturday. The expansion will allow us to open on Sundays as well, which we'll be able to provide and keep patients in the clinics and keep from flooding the ED if it's not an appropriate service for them. She mentioned the low risk for the county. It does not take county funds, so I just wanted to reiterate that. And I'm here to answer any questions that you guys may have in regards to Bethany or the project.
She made a very good point. Just one thing I wanted to say, she made a very good point, Ms. Nixon did, and that the costs have risen dramatically in the last couple of years because what's happened with COVID and subsequently the things that have happened with the workforce. We've already hired a provider to come work there, and we're going to be hiring some more very quickly. So that's one of the main reasons I came tonight, just to let you know we're on the hunt right now for quite a few good people to be up there as soon as possible.
may I ask one more thing too?
Sure.
Dean, could you share with us a little bit more about the types of services that are provided? Maybe, I don't know if it would be more appropriate to talk about what would be allowed or provided once you expand versus what's now.
Absolutely. So our current clinic, if you're familiar with it, it houses 3 providers. When it's really sized for 2. So we are able to house the 3 providers just based on workflow. But a lot of what we're seeing up there now, as you may be aware, is pain management. Expanding to the new location, Bethany has overall pain manages about 20% of our services. overall is 80% primary care and specialty care, GI, pulmonology, dermatology, cardiology. Those are the services that we're best known for. And our goal is, as we expand the location in Wilkesboro, is to determine, what services are in demand in North Wilkesboro and bring those services to North Wilkesboro so that patients don't need to travel outside. So that's our goal, and to expand our primary care to our normal 80% that we see elsewhere within the organization and our locations.
Where are you, located? Where are you located? Yeah.
Where are we located otherwise? We have a clinic in Mount Airy, and we're expanding there. We're primarily located in the,
Where are you located, Dean?
Yeah,
Independence Avenue.
okay.
The address is, it's on Independence Avenue. I can't think of the exact street address at the moment.
Are you, if you here or when are you? Do you get here, are you here? Yeah.
I live there. Is that the question?
Yeah.
No, sir. No, sir. I do not live in Wilkesboro. I live in.
The teacher.
Greg does not live in North.
No, I do not.
But our providers, we have providers.
Dean, where are you located at today? I think it was gonna be an hour and a half travel, because you
Yes.
have so many different
we're
locations.
in High Point.
That's
We're currently located in High Point.
I got one more question. Do you provide medical assistance to VAs paid by the government?
Yes, sir. We absolutely do.
You?
Yes.
Any other questions from the board?
Well, I do have one other statement, because one thing that is not mentioned with this building down here, and I'm looking at it strictly from building the tax base, the business model, is there's also what looks like at least 3 retail caps on the ground floor of that. So there is also, tax base is not just the real estate, but it's also businesses. So if you have retail, office, restaurant, whatever goes into those 3 lower buildings, that also adds to the tax base.
That is correct.
This is, remind everyone, this is a public hearing. Anybody here, if they have any questions, or you can make your comments anytime, Mr. Walker, we can recognize you now or later, it's up to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Jeff Walker, Program Director at Woodford Public Revolution. My concern is public perception from the town. I asked 10 people today. Yes, I'm all about workforce development, more jobs in this community. I asked 10 people today, random people, what was Bethany Medical? All 10 answers was the pain thing. I think a couple of them got it right, said pain management. All right, and so that's a concern with the opioid. I know they provide medical assisted treatment, which is more things, Suboxone subjects, right? But they provide that. I'm not sure if they provide any aftercare, any counseling, any treatment. From my understanding, they do not, which that does not make that treatment, that makes that provider. So to the town, my question is public perception. Most of this community, I even called someone in Surrey County and asked them what they thought about their Bethany Medical, and there's a pain clinic with them as well. So my concern, all due respect, gentlemen, but my concern is for this community, signing on or investing in this. We'd be ready for the kickback if that's what you get. All I have, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Walker.
Would either one of y'all like to address that statement?
Well, what I would like to say is that a pain management, like I said, is a smaller portion overall for Bethany Medical. We're trying to grow the organization in North Wilkesboro to expand more than that. Addiction management is of the 20% that is roughly pain management. Addiction management is only, I think, 5 to 7%. Chronic pain represents the bulk of the pain management that we provide. Our goal is, again, to keep patients out of the hospital. Our goal is, to keep them in the outpatient setting. So if, we're not providing, if they're not receiving the service that they need, they're gonna end up in the ED, clogging up the ED, so that patients who really need that service can't get in and be seen. So that is our goal. That's what we're tasked to do, and that's what we're gonna do.
Without a doubt, there are issues that are out there with the opioid crisis that have happened. But what we're trying to do from our end is to help these individuals that do have the issues, to get them on Suboxone so that we can get them off of the hard drugs. Now, there are issues all across the United States right now, but with the additional money, it's going to help us to bring in more of the services that we're trying to promote. A lot of it is primary care, because a lot of people are not seeing primary care like they used to because of the costs. So we're trying to help with that.
Anyone else have any other questions or anything else they'd like to say? Anything else, Mr. Walker? Your last chance, folks.
Am I able to speak without writing my name down or can I figure myself? Okay. Devin Lyle, and I just want, there was a statement made, that from one of you that you want to work collaboratively, look, I'm doing an Angela, work collaboratively and work all together to try and figure out what Wilkes County needs to try and bring those services. So I guess my ask would be, because I'm in a lot of community meetings where I've not seen representation from Bethany, or like, what is your plan to initiate those collaborations? Like, how are you gonna figure out what those things that need to happen in Wilkes County are? And definitely I'm gonna take the stance on, on recovery and addiction and the work we work in, but I understand the need for low barrier services. I get all that. Not down in the 5 to 7% that you do as far as treatment or I don't even know that it's treatment because there's not the wraparound services, but I'm not downing that. My concern is, like, if our county or town invests in you, like, how are you going to invest back to make sure you're a part of the solution and not a part of the problem? Right now, I will be honest, and even, probably those 10 people, you are not a part of the solution, you are part of the problem. I am grateful for all the jobs we can bring. I'm grateful for all the tax base, all of the money, everything our town needs, but I also would be concerned that if our community and our, board decide to sign on to that there be a commitment back to making sure that you're a part of working with North Wilkesboro to truly do what you are saying you want to do.
Thank you, Ms. Lyle. Mr. Ruth?
Well, and we do work with our local municipalities in a number of ways when we're deeply embedded into the communities. We have a foundation that's part of our organization that invests in various community programs and events. We've had that here at High Point in Greensboro and in other areas, and as we continue to grow in North Wilkesboro, that would be the case there as well. As far as the solution, again, I just want to reiterate, individuals who are addicted to drugs, they need help, and if they don't receive the help, they're going to end up either dead or they're going to end up in the hospital. And so our treatment tries to prevent that from happening. Our treatment tries to manage it and get them off those drugs. It is, Suboxone is medication assisted treatment. We do have counseling as well. We can provide behavioral health that is needed. So there's enough, and we do provide that here. Again, once we are up there in our facilities and the business starts to grow and we add more providers that can support bringing a specialist up there, that is the goal. And once we understand what those services are, then we would bring specialists up there as well and rotate them into clinic. I don't know if Greg has anything to add.
I would definitely say that's the most important thing that the dean said. We're trying to help these individuals. you know, whether we want to deal with it or not, or even look at it as a problem, it's a problem. The opioid crisis is a real big problem. But we're not here to further that. We're here to help these individuals by getting them on Suboxone. Anybody that's ever knows anything about that, that's ever worked with it before, I can tell you it works. It does. I've had a lot of individuals that I've recruited over time that have told me they never thought about it at the beginning, but whenever they started working with it and the individual patients that they had, it worked for them and it changed their lives. So we're not here to do that. We're here to give them parameters, and it's going to be a lot on them as well, you know, but we're here to help them and we're to help the community.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, this public hearing is now closed. We vote on this side. Okay, I'll need a motion to accept the resolution and move forward with the grant with the 5% match for Bethany Medical.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we accept the resolution 2022-17 for the application into the Department of Commerce for Project Bethany.
If Mr. Parsons, have a second.
Hi.
I have a second. Any further discussion before we vote? Hearing none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
No. No.
Everybody no.
Yeah.
Okay, all those opposed?
No.
Okay, the motion fails. Move on to item 11.5, emergency issues. We might need that one. We did like that. That was an addition.
I just, we just, it wasn't part of the agenda, so we were just.
Yeah, we were gonna, for what mentioned here on emerging issues,
People on this thing.
front load the agenda for next Tuesday.
Oh, we were gonna talk about. We were talking about the. Mark, I don't know.
That's okay. No problem. Anyone have anything on the board on emerging issues?
Can it be noted that this is the first time since I've been on this board, I haven't had something for the emergency?
Yes.
How about that?
Take your temperature. All right, this last chance for.
Well, we were definitely gonna talk about, you know, the water issue, you know, and, moving forward with the DOT and talking to them about, you know, seeing where we're, you know, seeing where we are, seeing what we need to do to try to move that whole repaving project, the stormwater and all of that. So, but, you know, we kind of covered that. So.
Yeah, and maybe, when David, when he came over to the office, maybe Michael can pick out a time he can join us too. All right. Okay, that's it. And so we'll, I need, someone to read very, very back. Item 12, closed session.
Can we take a brief break before we go to that too?
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion that we go into closed session according to GS 143-318.11A3 to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged. General policy matters may not be discussed.
Yeah, we're covering both, are we covering both things?
Correct.
tonight?
Yeah.
And also, GS 143-318 .1186 to consider the qualification, competence, performance, character, fitness, condition of appointment of an individual public officer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Paul. Need a second, please?
I second.
Thank you very much. All those in favor, please raise your right hand, and say aye.